This meeting is now, we're now welcoming everyone to City of Little Rock Board of Directors agenda meeting for May 27, 2025. This is our opportunity to review the agenda for our former board meeting that will be held on June 3rd, 2025. We'll first start with the MacArthur Park shade structure update.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. My name is Tim Heipel. I'm representing the MacArthur Park Group. First, want to thank Director Miller for inviting us to this, and always a thanks to Leland Couch for all he does for parks for the city. What I've got is some updates on some really exciting things that are happening in MacArthur Park. Remind you that MacArthur Park is the oldest park in this city, and we think the greatest park in the city. The MacArthur Park Group, which I represent, has been meeting every Friday, practically every Friday morning at 8 o'clock since 2006. We have raised almost $3 million with partners for various projects, such as a universally accessible playground, a trail from Soma, the dog park, multi-purpose courts, and some street and infrastructure work. So we've been hard at it, and truly our goal is to support MacArthur Park. In that tone, about a year ago, actually Karen Martin with the Democrat Gazette wrote a nice article about our dog park, but mentioned that there was a lack of shade there. So we took that to heart and decided we would, with again, help from lots of partners, including Studio Maine and AMFA and the Bowen School of Law, Quapaw Quarter, the Hostel Museum, Firehouse Museum in the park, and other partners, and developed a design competition. We had multiple entries for that, and then last November, we had a public meeting and a reception at the MacArthur Museum and selected a winner, and the winner was AMR Architects entry, and you'll see that. I think you have a handout that I won't go into much depth about this, but the handout is in your packet and they're on the slide. So our goal was to not only provide shade, but provide an iconic feature in the park that was highly visible, that would be a representative of the park and relate to dogs and fun and all the cultural aspects of the park. So it had to meet a lot of criteria, and we think that AMR's entry did that, and they were selected first. I will go through this presentation fairly quickly because you have it in your packet, but kind of update you on where we are and where we want to go. But again, you'll see an image. It's a 30-foot diameter fiberglass Frisbee. It's been authorized by Whammo and Frisbee, so it's an authentic Frisbee, true to the original, which we're fortunate to have that approval. It is again, it's in a great location. I'll show you that later. There's 110,000 vehicles that go by there every day, and we think it's because the location at I-630 and 30, it's highly visible. It's within walking distance of the downtown. Whoops. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'll take it from now, I think, if I can. Yes, and again, that shows you kind of the location where we are with nearby landmarks, which again we think we can build on that as we go forward. Okay. Probably did it twice. A little bit about MacArthur Park, not going to go into too much of that, but some images of the park and some of the landmarks in the park that we're very proud of. It does fall into the criteria and fits in with the theme of the recent master plan for downtown Little Rock, walkability, connections to downtown, connections to the cultural institutions within the area. Again, that's a view of the sculpture from the interstate, and one of the themes of the master plan was rambles to the river, which it fits again, within those criteria very, very nicely. We feel like this could be a really cultural catalyst, as it says. The Frisbee activities, Whammo actually has a multitude of different games and toys and things, hacky sack and all sorts of things, so that this could really turn into a theme based on the Whammo products and Frisbee, and there's nothing like that in the country now, so we think it really has potential to do that. We have started fundraising after the first of the year. We've raised some money. We're not here to ask for money, but the project is going to run around $250,000. We've raised about $100,000 at this point. We have private donors, and we're working with, obviously, with Parks and Leland to help us do some of the groundwork where they can within their capabilities. So again, we're about 146,000 that we need. That's about all I have. If there are any questions, I just want to say, that being optimistic, Chicago has their bean, and Kansas City has their shuttlecock, and I think Little Rock would have its Frisbee, and I think we'll fit right in there, and I think it's something we need to do. So, again, any other questions?
Thank you so much. Director Miller, did you have a question?
I have a question. I have a comment.
All right, Director Miller. Did you select it? There it is.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Tim, for this presentation. I want to publicly thank the Mac Park Group. Like you said, they meet every Friday at 8 o'clock. Let me repeat that. Every Friday at 8 o'clock. These are a group of volunteers who take their work very seriously. They love MacArthur Park. They love the museum. They love what we're trying to do here. And I just wanted to publicly thank you guys and the whole group. I think I see some members of the park group.
Absolutely.
Could they just please stand up just so everyone can see your dedication? But thank you guys. Yes, it's worthy. Thank you very much. And so this mayor and the members of the city board, this presentation, I wanted you to see it firsthand. I've had a chance to see it. I had a chance to vote on the selections that were presented to us. And I just wanted to say a few words to make sure everyone knows how much work and dedication you and the rest of the members of the Mac Park Group have put into this. And I wanted to, again, publicly thank you guys for this. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you so much. We're grateful.
Thank you.
We're now going to have the 2023-2025 resurfacing projects presentation. Manish.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Board. I appreciate the opportunity to give you a quick update on our resurfacing program, which is a part of our bond program from 23 to 25. As a part of this presentation, I'd like to go over briefly our current status of our resurfacing program. We do have some money left, and if you recall, approximately a month ago, the board approved us to do a change order to do a few more streets in that resurfacing program. Also, I'd like to touch upon our citywide street condition mapping. If you recall, a year and a half ago, actually, in January of 2024, the board approved us to get the street condition mapping done for the entire city. As you know, the city owns and maintains about 1,200 centerline miles of streets. So we thought that would be critical information to know how our streets are doing right now, to have the inventory of the conditions and to be able to use it as a tool to select streets for resurfacing and for other projects. Also, we tried to use this tool here to select a few projects to do with the remaining money that we had. So with that, I'll go to the next slide. And this is just a brief overview. These are our projects that we did in the 23 to 25 resurfacing program. This map is obviously very zoomed out, so you really can't see all the projects. But we divided the program into two separate contracts. We had a 23 program, which had approximately 29 streets and about $2.7 million in resurfacing monies. The second contract was for 24 and 25 resurfacing, and we did 59 streets with approximately $6.7 million. Now, from those two contracts, as well as previous contracts, we had approximately $1 million left over. So we felt that needs to be used to do some more streets. So we thought, why not use the data that we have, because we want to go to a data-driven approach when we do projects for the city. And this is a great tool, not just for us from a technical standpoint, but also for this board to engage with the residents and show them the conditions of our streets. So we're making decisions together, and we all agree on those things. So with that, this is kind of a overview map. It's too zoomed out right now, but I'm gonna do a quick demo for you. Before I do the demo, I do wanna show you this. So basically, approximately 70% of our streets are either in fair, good, or excellent condition, which means like, I'll go over these colors real quick with you before I go into the presentation. So the dark green is any street that is in excellent condition, which is basically brand new. And then anything that's light green is a fairly new street, something that has been resurfaced recently. And then anything that's yellow is in fair condition, which means, when you drive, you can actually see some wear and tear, you see some cracks, but it's still fairly good to ride on. The ones in orange, you start to see some structural failures, you start to see some roughness, you don't feel very comfortable driving on those. And then the red ones, they're labeled lost here. What that really means is the street has lost its structural stability. So we have about 7% of our streets in that category. So one of the things that this data provided us, and I'm going to show you a quick demo of it, is it gives you an entire map which is color-coded, and then you can go to any location and you can actually play the video there. So I'm going to switch over to that real quick. So this is South Shackelford Road at the Heart Hospital heading south. So I'm going to play the video right here. And you can kind of pause and see how poor the conditions are. And you can see it's all red, color-coded red on the map. So we can do that with any of the city-owned streets that we have. We have the entire city street network mapped, and we have these videos for all of that. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I actually said, this is actually, if you'll see the next slides, like this is one of the streets that we selected. Also, I want to pull this up for a second. You may not be able to see a lot of data in here, but this is our spreadsheet that was given. This has all the data in it, and it's being segregated into different types of treatment, not just resurfacing, but for this particular project, we used the resurfacing category to select those projects. And then going back to my presentation. So before I go through those projects, the streets that we selected, I want to show you this slide. This is basically showing you the pavement life cycle. So when you have a new street, it approximately lasts about 20 to 25 years, depending on how you take care of it. Now, surprisingly, they do last longer. But if you see that first curve, it goes from being in excellent condition to good to fair, and then it slowly starts to deteriorate. So what this graph is trying to show you is there's a good point where you can actually do some kind of treatment to the surface of the street to maintain it. So this is where we start talking about pavement preservation, and resurfacing is one form of pavement preservation. Resurfacing is a little bit more costlier. However, it is very effective. So far, all we've been doing is resurfacing. So sometime in the future, it would be good to consider using pavement preservation techniques. So with that, these were the streets that we looked at. I can go through each one of these separately with you if you would like. We had Riverfront Drive, which was very, very poor condition. We looked at Shackelford Road. We looked at Scott Street. Looked at several segments of Chenal Parkway. We get a lot of complaints from all of these areas. We looked at West 36th Street from the roundabout to John Barrow Road. And we looked at Markham Street. This is the portion of Markham Street that's out in West Little Rock near Chenal Parkway. So out of all of those, we looked at average daily traffic that's available through Arkansas Department of Transportation's website. And we used our pavement data as well as cost estimates to make a final decision. So we had approximately $1 million left. So we selected 3 segments. The first one's Shackelford Road from Executive Center Drive down to BJ's Restaurant. That's that first signal south of the interstate. So also I want to make sure everybody knows that those little pieces of asphalt just north and south of the interstate belong to the DOT, so we will not be able to use our monies to resurface those. So just wanted everybody to be aware of that. So that's not included in this. And this segment also carries about 22,000 vehicles a day. So that's a big factor that helped us decide on choosing this street. The next one is Chenal from Bowman over to Hermitage Road. This is where Barnes & Noble is, basically. This carries approximately 40 to 45,000 vehicles a day, and that's a lot of traffic. And we're looking at resurfacing this area, and it's about $580,000 to do that. And last but not least is West 36th Street from the roundabout over to John Barrow Road. And that has about 12,000 vehicles a day and about $170,000 to resurface that. So the total of those 3 is approximately $980,000. So that's the $1 million that we have left over. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'm sorry.
Director, if you'll press. Director Lewis.
Thanks for that presentation. I just want to know if you had an ETA on the projects, because some of those I do get questioned a lot.
I do not. We just approved the change order. We do have to finish all those projects by the end of this year, so definitely this summer or fall.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. 2 questions. Is this online, or will this presentation be online?
It is not online right now. The presentation itself, or are you talking about the video capability?
Well, either one, because that was my second question. Can we go online and see the video?
We will have to look into that because it's a pretty large database. It's about 2 terabytes. So we'll have to look into that and see if that can be put online. The presentation can be made available online for sure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Director Wyatt.
Thank you, Mayor. Ward 2 and Ward 7 are missing from any monies out of these projects.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you saying our streets are perfect and we don't need any funding? How did those 2 wards get left out of funding?
No, not at all. I mean, definitely there are needs all across the city. Like I said, we used our data to look at all those streets that were listed in that data. We looked at average daily traffic, and we looked at an impact that would be citywide rather than just one ward. So that's how we made that decision.
Well, I know I've made an effort to try to through the years, take care of collector streets like Chico and some of those streets.
Yes, ma'am.
But we still have, was this more collector streets than,
So,
or,
so Chenal Parkway is a principal arterial, and then Shackleford is a minor arterial, and 36th is also a minor arterial. So, yes, the classification of the street also plays a role, and of course the traffic, the amount of traffic on it actually like signifies what kind of street it is. So we looked at those factors, and also this certainly doesn't mean that other wards don't have needs. We want to use this kind of data to urge our residents to support us in future endeavors when we have a bond or a sales tax issue. This is a great tool to engage with our residents. So that's the main aim.
okay, it might be a great tool, but it looks like Ward 2 and Ward 7 don't fit within your tool scope. That's my concern. So are you saying that most of these streets were above collector standard?
Yes.
Okay, and so, I agree that we need to take care of our collector streets and above, because that gets us out of our neighborhoods to work, to school, to shopping, that kind of thing. So I'm an advocate for that. But I am aware of a number of streets in Ward 7 that are high-volume streets.
Yes, ma'am.
Mableville Pike, for one. We've got some area, it's a small section of Mableville Pike. I widened up to a certain area and then widened on the other side, but and resurfaced. But there's a short section there where you funnel traffic into 2 lanes. So I
Yes.
would have thought that maybe that might have entered into some of the discussion for this. So I get that you've got data-driven, but we do have other streets that are of a larger carrying capacity. And Ken's not here to defend himself, but I drive some of his streets, I know.
Sure.
But, I'm very disappointed that we're not getting anything in Ward 2 or Ward 7.
I understand. But we'll work with you, especially with the next bond cycle. This is our first bond cycle.
Okay.
There's still another opportunity to do more, and we'll work with you to make selections that fit your ward for sure.
So, this is a bond cycle, and when will the next bond cycle?
So that has not yet been decided.
And before, let's be clear, it's a bond. These funds are only available because of the efficiencies of the contractor that allow for the dollars to move forward. Every ward received funding in this bond cycle, and so that's the only reason why we're here today. So it's not that a ward didn't get any money. Every ward received money in the bond cycle.
It is that 2 wards didn't get money.
No,
That's the reason why
that's
I'm raising the issue and
what I'm-
trying to understand
And
what
Director
the
White,
situation is.
what I'm sharing, not necessarily with you, but with the public, every ward received funding in the bond cycle. And the reason we have extra funds available because the contract, I'm just sharing this for the public so they understand, there was extra, they were able to be on time and under budget. I don't know if they were on time, but they were definitely under budget, and that allowed for some excess dollars to move forward. That's the reason why they utilize the data approach.
Well, that's one way to look at it, but I had some projects, and so maybe the contractors that worked in Ward 2 and Ward 7 were able to save some money that would go into this pot. I get the picture. I understand what you're trying to do. I understand volumes. I understand people trying to move places, but I do have a concern that I don't have anything in here in Ward 7 and in Ken's defense, Ward 2.
I hear you. And you asked me about the next bond cycle.
Yes,
That has
yes.
not yet been decided when to sell bonds. One of the things is from a public works standpoint, we'd like to be prepared. We'd like to engage with the board and the residents, have public involvement meetings, and select the projects that actually need to be done in the next cycle. And then also possibly have our consultant selections done before we sell those bonds, so we hit the ground running.
Yeah. Okay, and I want to work with you. I'm not being adversarial to you.
I understand, I
I'm trying
understand.
to support 2 wards with maybe 60,000 people that live and work there, and then the traffic that comes in and out of Southwest, and then I go all the way up to Canis Road. So I was trying to figure out if some of this Bowman would help, and I'm not sure it does, so I'll get back with you a little bit later, and we'll see.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we need some help on Bowman, trying to get to subdivisions over there.
Yes, ma'am.
So I appreciate it's very clear what you've done, and I'm glad we've got this tool to help us determine where the needs are. Disappointed? Yes, I am.
I totally understand. Thank you.
Director Adcock, then Director Hines.
Okay, well, I'm going to continue with what Director Wyrick was talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
So are you telling me that there was no savings in the bond projects for Ward 2 and 7? All the savings came from West Little Rock?
No, I'm not saying that. We just had monies left over overall.
Okay,
And it
I
was
would like
also
to know
from,
how much of that money left over came from Ward 2 and Ward 7? Because like BJ, I looked at this whole thing and nothing in here
Yes,
says
ma'am.
Ward 2 or Ward 7. And
Sure.
you've got a large population of people out there.
Yes.
And we have lots of streets with problems, particularly after these storms and everything.
Sure.
These pretty maps that you have,
Yes.
are those available for Ward 2 and 7 also?
Yes, ma'am.
these
I mean,
were
there,
some options?
we have all the maps. Yes, for the entire city.
Okay, and who selected these projects?
So the Public Works team selected the projects. We also consulted with the mayor.
Well.
And like you said, that
Like Director Wyrick, I would like to see when we have money left over, that it's divided equally among all the wards and everything, because what we're going to get now is lots of telephone calls from people in those wards saying, did we not have any savings? Did we not get anything?
Sure.
Did we not pay the same taxes that other people do?
I understand.
So as we look at this stuff, we need to consider other people's feelings,
Yes, ma'am.
and that everyone feels like they should get at least part of the pie when
Sure.
you're serving the pie.
So,
and Manish and Director Adcock, we totally agree with you. I want to share, as the team shared these projects, every ward, this is the first cycle. The next cycle, it may be wards 1, 2, and 7, and wards 3, 5, and 6 may not get anything. Essentially, again, it's based off the data on what's available, because if you parse it out, you wouldn't be able to get a sidewalk done. And so that's the reason why, because of how much the project costs, that's the best way you can do it this way. We totally agree, and again, based off the data and the advice from the Public Works Department, this was the best way to split up money. But if you split it up 10 ways, nothing would happen at all.
It's
Nothing.
only 7 ways, Mayor, it's not 10 ways.
If you divide it by 7 ways, it's still nothing would happen at all. You would probably only be able to get 1 ward and not 7. That's what we're trying to share with everyone.
I attend meetings in Ward 2.
I do
Ward
too.
2 says they have not had a representative on this board in a long time. They feel like that they're being left out of everything. And it's like when you have a child that feels like they're not getting anything. You want to be really concerned and careful as you're passing out things, that child understands that there are things for them. And I would just like to make sure that we look at Ward 2 and Ward 7 when we're passing out streets and good things.
yes, ma'am, for sure.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And thank you, Director Adcock. And again, I want to share, when there's another cycle, we are dividing based off of the data. It's not any one person making a selection. It's based off of the traffic flow, the amount of dollars that we have available. As you can see, Ward 3 is not getting anything. Ward 5 is not, I'm going to be very clear, Ward 5, which is West Little Rock, is not receiving anything. Ward 4 is not receiving anything. And so that's the reason why, and just to remind everyone, this city board, anytime it's had these available funds, historically, they were made to be citywide funds, and they weren't divided by ward. So I want to make sure this is nothing new. from that standpoint. Director Hines? I'll come back, I'll come back to you, Director Adcock, but Director Hines was next.
Thank you. So I take it that this extra $1 million on these three projects that we're going to use it on, these were all categorized in the red as a lost?
Most of it is red, yes, sir.
Okay, or critical.
Yes, sir.
And then the question I've got as I look at the greater list, that I'd like a little roll-up now that we've done this. Give us the last time, each ward director may want it, when we did resurfacing, because I know we've got sections of Chenal Parkway and some other streets that we have overlaid with it. I mean, we've overlaid it with the 2010 monies.
Yes.
And they have not competed. I mean, not held up. The question is, what are you guys going to do different with these arterials? I had talked with Director Honeywell several years back. He said that they were going to change the formulation in the compounds they were using on our arterial streets to try to get some longer. There's some type of additive they use at the highway department. Is that happening?
So, yes, sir. So that one section that we did in the 23 cycle from Chenal Valley on Chenal Parkway down to LaMarche or whatever that is. So, is it LaMarche? Maybe. But that section has a additive called Fortify, which is FORTA-FI. That's basically a Kevlar fiber that's added. It's 1 pound per ton that's added to the asphalt, which gives it a little more structural strength. So that is being added. And I want to point out that that section that we've proposed to resurface with this additional money from Bowman on Chenal Parkway, from Bowman to Hermitage, that has that in it.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
And that's primarily the formula you guys are going to use on our arterial streets, the high traffic streets going forward.
Depending on what kind of street it is, and also like the conditions, like if it's really bad, we want to use that. For example, Van Buren is a good example from Fair Park going north. We resurfaced that in 2017 or 18, and that was a street that's an old concrete pavement, and you have those reflective cracks show up very quickly. And when we did that, for the last 7 or 8 years, it's held up really good. Now it has started to show the cracking again, but it delayed it by a long time. So depending on the type of street and how bad it is, because it does add about 15% to the cost to add that additive. So
one of the things I would ask is that since this map is so shrunk down, if you could provide us with the map of each one of our wards with the grading on it, so we can maybe see it a little bit better. Hopefully think you can get that posted to the city's website. I know we've got our ward maps posted. Maybe we can get a snapshot of that. The other question would be, I would like either from you or Mr. Sarpy the current balance of our street fund reserve, the restricted and unrestricted total.
Yes, sir.
Last time I checked, it was about 16 million. And I would suggest to the mayor and this board that we might want to use some of our street fund reserves to maybe try to catch up on some of these critical lost and some of these lost roadways and critical ones going forward. Maybe that's something we can look at, because I can tell you right now, going out to the voters right now and asking for any more sales tax money, we were lucky enough to get the bond issue done. I still don't feel that using bond funds that have to be paid back over 20 years when we're not getting 20 years of use of worth out of our streets in most cases, especially when they're arterials, is probably the wisest use. Street maintenance is maintenance, it's not capital. It's different when we're rebuilding a street. But I think, yeah, that's kind of it. And then I also like to point out, since we've started playing the ward hat game, that although a lot of these sections used to be in Ward 5, I've been pushed pretty far out past Bowman before my ward even starts in the north side of Chenal Parkway. So these are all, I think, are in Ward 6, all these projects, Shackelford, the Chenal Parkway from Bowman to Hardin Hermitage, that's in Ward 6, and and the 36th Street's in Ward 6. So it looks like all these projects are in Ward 6, not that, yeah. There's only 3 projects being done, Director. So,
No,
anyway, and I'm not pointing, I'm just saying we need to focus on our most critical streets, especially with our arterial, so I agree. And it may flip the other way where we're sitting on the other end next time and nothing's getting done with any extra money, so.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Director Adcock? All right. Vice Mayor Wyatt?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one more thing. With the bond issues and with the street programs that our citizens have had to live with in the past few years, we've had to piecemeal streets. On Vimy Ridge Road, we're doing a project down there, and we can't take care of the entire street. I think we're putting $1.2 million into it. It ought to be 5 lanes. It's going to be 3 lanes. But we're leaving a section of it that it's not going to be taken care of. So the bond issues that we're talking about, the leftover money is from, would Vimy Ridge Road have been one of those projects?
You're asking me if the money was left over from
Yeah, it
from
hasn't
the
been
from the
constructed.
capital program?
Yes, uh-huh.
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, that's probably an unfair question at this, with you being here. But we've had to piecemeal streets, and I'm sure in all the wards, but I know in Ward 7, we'll say, okay, I'll put this amount of money into this. This'll help me get, 17,000 cars a day, which is what Vimy Ridge Road does. Or I'll do this project or this project. So we're piecemealing, basically trying to help our people. So if this is a better tool for addressing street issues.
So this particular tool we're looking at for resurfacing, and then eventually, like Director Hines pointed out, like the concern is we don't have any funding for maintaining our streets.
Right.
So all we do right now is fill potholes or patch some streets here and there, and that's about it. But our main aim is to get to that point to where we're able to obtain like continuous funding to resurface our streets or even maintain them, not just resurfacing, preserve them. So at some point, hopefully we'll be there. And, this tool also shows us where structural issues are with the streets. So you can actually use it as a tool to select capital street projects. But we also have other data that we're using for that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make the point that we are piecemealing today.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
With the funding that we have.
No, we're not doing that. No, not at all.
Okay.
Thank you, Manish, for sharing this data-driven approach at this point in time that we know that hopefully we'll continue to see more cost efficiencies to make certain that every ward is touched. That's always the goal. So.
Thank you.
All right. Director Dana Doucette.
Good afternoon, Board, to the Mayor, and to the audience. I'm Dana Doucette, Director of Community Programs, and we have our 2024 annual report to present today. Each of you should have also, though, at your desk received a copy of the report so that you can look at that. And then anyone who is looking at this online, we will have it online. I actually believe it is already online. It's available. It's also available through Facebook. If you look for the Department of Community Programs for the City of Little Rock on Facebook and Instagram, you'll be able to continue to keep in touch or understand some of the things that we do throughout the year. I do have several members of our staff here, and so I would like for the staff to stand up real quickly. And then we've already started the beginning of summer youth employment, so we also have our mentors here, so if you guys will stand up. And we also have our chair of the CYF Commission here, Anthony Hampton. So we're definitely thankful for you guys to be here as well as we go through this. Okay, Everyone should know by now that we do have an annual budget of about $5 million every year. And so we are definitely thankful for that. Last year in 2024, it supported more than 50 programs and served more than 24,000 children, youth, and families. Our goals remain the same from the Youth Master Plan, that is to use data to increase program quality and accountability, enhance internal and external communication, develop employability skills, and definitely always place a priority on children, youth, and by extension, their families. The CYF Commission is still over. They definitely serve to oversee the work that we do. Of course, anytime we're bringing anything to the board, it goes through the CYF Commission first. Those were our list of 2024 commissioners. Our leadership is, of course, me as the director. Michael Sanders serves as the assistant director. He is also the director of the Office of Neighborhood Safety, which I'll talk about in just a second. I think you have noticed that we do have our 4 managers in place now: Dr. Mark Perry, Marcus Montgomery, Dr. Jackie Eves, and Gwen Triglith Jackson. I don't know where I should point it. Okay, there we go. The Office of Neighborhood Safety was established, and what that basically looks like is just that neighborhood safety to provide public safety throughout the neighborhoods in the city. We do have a focus on ages 13 to 30 and wards 1, 2, 6, and 7, since those are noted as hotspots. One of the biggest areas of the Office of Neighborhood Safety is reentry services, and we're definitely proud of that. You will see that last year Dwight served, who is the coordinator, served as the Employee of the Year for our department and was also actually one of the top 3 who for Employee of the Year last year. And then this year, our success story out of reentry services is Denaro Cook. He came through our reentry services, and he is actually the 2025 City of Little Rock Employee of the Year. So that just kind of shows some of the work that we're doing and the type of impact that it has citywide. We also have a school-based intervention team. We have several people who actually work in the schools themselves who are trying to make sure that students stay engaged, stay in school, and actually finish school. We definitely have our street outreach team who is still working very hard to go where people are. As we know, everyone won't be able to come to one of our programs, so we have outreach to them wherever they are. As you may remember, with original ARPA funds, we started the Community Violence Reduction Services. The following year, we used funds from the Department of Community Programs, the PIT funds, and those are some of the programs that we were able to continue using PIT funds in 2024. Same thing with neighborhood safety programs. We were able to have several of those who had different types of activities. And if you look inside the book themselves, the information about each program is detailed. I wanted to do a high-level approach here today, but definitely within the book itself, you'll be able to find detailed information about each program. Day labor services were enabling us to help people start a job immediately where they work one day and get paid the next. For those that aren't quite ready to go into a full-time job and still need some job assistance, as well as a community innovation project, the Arkansas Learning Network helps people finish high school and get a high school diploma. We also still had midnight basketball, which is, is definitely a favorite of the community. With program development, as you know, we work primarily with nonprofit organizations. A lot of them could use help with building capacity, and that's what our program development is basically focused on, is making sure that it's one of our goals of the Youth Master Plan, but we also embrace that by helping the programs themselves with different opportunities to help them build capacity so they can serve our residents even better. That also looks like our positive prevention programs. We were able to have several, as you can see, for example, Boys and Girls Club, we may have one provider, but they have 7 programs because they have different locations. And so that's just a look at some of the different positive prevention programs, which are your traditional after-school programs that we have throughout the city. As I mentioned before, we also have professional development. Our professional development is not only for our programs and our program providers, but we also offer that now to our stakeholders and to the city at large. Anyone can attend our different professional development opportunities. Little Rock Career Climb, we were excited. That was a program that was started by the mayor. You may remember that in 2024, that was one of the things that he mentioned at his State of the City address. And so we definitely embraced that, and we have grown that throughout the year last year and then going into this year. Definitely excited about that. For example, last year, as you can see, more than 521 residents were engaged as we helped them learn not just to get a job, but learn how to gain a career. Last year for 2024 with the Summer Youth Employment Program, really excited. We now have, well, last year we had 911 applications that were accepted. So definitely the word is out that there are a lot of people who want a job, especially from the ages of 16 to 21. We had a successful year last year. We were able to finish 558 of those people actually finished the year or finish the summer with a position, with their job. So we're definitely really excited about that. We also started a pilot program last year, and that was the Youth Workforce Development Institute. So the exciting thing about that was we asked our school-based team, there are a lot of students who aren't quite 16, but they still want a job. Many of you have children, and you know that when they start turning 13, 14, and 15, they still want money, but they're just too young. And so that's what this does, is it reaches out to that age group to get them ready for a job so that by the time they turn 16, they have some of the skills that the workforce is looking for. So this was a pilot program that started with 24 students. It was a very successful pilot. We'll be doing it again this year. Really excited about that opportunity. When it comes to community engagement, we still do that. You still find us in the community doing the things that we've always done. Everything from the block party that we have in Ward 6 to just different opportunities throughout the city to engage our residents, to make sure that they know that the Department of Community Programs is still here and ready and willing to help them move ahead and improve their quality of life. Last year, we had 27 events and almost 6,000 people, more than 6,000 people engaged throughout our activities. One of the other things that we have when we don't have RFPs going out are always going to be our small contracts. That's where we are able to award different organizations $4,500 to bring forth an opportunity to our citizens. So that's available throughout the year. Last year, we awarded 10 small contracts, so that was $45,000, and we were really excited about the different projects that we had. We also continue to work with community partners and stakeholders, so that's everything from the community schools to Little Rock Police Department and their youth programs, the summer playground program that Parks and Rec has, the Mayor's Youth Council, the Be Mighty program, City Year. There are still a lot of different organizations and opportunities that people may not realize that PIT dollars actually fund and support. And then, of course, we do have a DCP operations team that keeps it all together. That's kind of what I like to say. So that's also the work of our procurement officer. Many of you still see Barbara Osborne up there. That's because she still has her finger in making sure that there was a great transfer of information, and she still helps us with a lot of different things. But they're the ones that keep us going forward together. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions, and just a reminder that still, I know you haven't had time to look through the annual report, but it has the detailed information that I know that some of you may be looking for.
Director Webb, then Director Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to thank Dana and thank all of you for being here today. And I just want to make sure everybody on the board saw the announcement and that we all take time to visit with Dana before she leaves the city employment. And I appreciate the last 10 years or so that we've worked together on this, and you all have done a wonderful job. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And for those who may not be aware, Director Doucette is going to be retiring in July, but we may see, I'm sure we're going to see you before now and then, but she'll be retiring. We're grateful for her years of service, and we know she's going to be doing some things with her family that's much needed, and we're prayerful.
Thank you.
Director Miller.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Director Doucette and your staff. Great report. I appreciate it. I get a chance to dive into this a little bit later, but I wanted to ask you, and it may be in the book, so excuse me if it's already in here, but on our summer youth program, you said we accepted 911. Was that application? How many total applications did we get? Do you know?
For last year, that was it. So that was the total application. So applications accepted, let me tell you the difference is that you have people that apply but aren't residents of Little Rock, for example. So we had probably about 1,200 people who applied. We have to weed out all of those that don't qualify. They may be too young, too old, live in another city, things of that sort.
So you're saying of the 911, we serviced everybody that we could,
We service everybody that we could because,
who was eligible and met the criteria.
and yes, and met the criteria is a big thing because there's still other different things that make sure someone is allowed to participate.
Yeah, you did.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm sorry about that. When someone asks you, because they ask me sometimes, how do you measure success with these programs? Is it getting somebody a job? Is it keeping somebody in school? When someone asks you, we spend this money, how do we say it's successful when you have all these different programs? Is it on a case-by-case basis for the programs that you're measuring, or is there some bottom line? Or is that just too simplistic?
I would say that's a little bit too simplistic. And one reason I can say is Michael Sanders himself. You know, years ago, I won't say how many, he was in summer youth employment. And he himself has said that he would directly say that impacted his decisions because of the type of job he had. One job was working outside, so he knew he didn't want that job. That helped him remember to go to college. And yet another job that he had where he worked at a museum helped him say, oh, wow, I never would have considered working at a museum had I not worked there during summer youth employment. A lot of times we find our success years later because it takes a while for, as you all know yourself, when you start looking back at what led to whatever success you have felt individually, your own personal success, it is looking back at maybe that caring adult or that teacher or that experience that you had, but you really don't recognize it until years later. We still consider those success for, like, for example, a De Niro cook who, without the second chance, might not have been at the level that he is now, doing some really wonderful things. So I would say that's a little bit simplistic. Not to say that we still don't have our data. As you know, just last week, you guys were able to approve our data system so that we could collect better information about our immediate outputs. But I definitely say we're starting a project now where we're going back to say, hey, have you ever been touched by any of the work that community programs has done? And we know that there are several success stories out there, and we're starting to catalog those. So I'd even say to the audience that may be listening or even watching later, if you've ever been touched by the Department of Community Programs through any of the things that we've done, please do reach back out to us, because that's a question that we'd like to be in a better position to answer.
Okay, thank you, and I appreciate that answer. And Mayor, I really wanted her to get a chance to talk about that, because we have people who ask, well, how do you measure success? What are we getting for everything? I've been in a summer youth program, and I can say it certainly helped me. It kept me off the streets. I don't know how they measured that, but it was successful for me. So when I get these questions, I want to make sure that I have all the information to talk about how do you measure success, and it's just not so simple for someone to say how successful a program is. So thank you for that. You've helped me a lot, and I'm sure reading this data is going to help me even more. I appreciate that. Thanks, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We'll now go to the agenda. Any questions on the consent agenda? Thank you all. Let's give them all a round of applause. Anything on the planning items, since there are no questions on the consent agenda? Vice Mayor Ward?
Items 9 and 10 on the consent, is setting a date for public hearing for an improvement district called Mountain Brook. Where, do we know where that is? What's the location of this?
Director Jordan? And
It probably should be Tom. I think they come from Tom's office direct.
I don't know where it is.
Okay, can you find out and let me know?
Right.
That'd be helpful whenever we looked at these improvement districts. Thank you.
Director Hines?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like a report from Brad on 17.
Director Jordan?
Hello, everyone. This is an ordinance to amend the master street plan to remove the proposed westward extension of Capitol Hill Boulevard, a minor arterial street, from the master street plan. This is the proposed removal of this proposed road. All three of the property owners that are in the vicinity of this proposed road are in agreement to remove it. This was originally initiated by staff, but the property owner, the largest property owner, I guess the Stevens group, asked for the removal of it.
Okay, and this coincides with our action last meeting on the adjustment.
I would say it's related to it, yes, sir.
Super. As long as all parties are in agreement.
They are.
Haven't heard anything, so that's good news.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, before we, just 1 second, Director Ward. Any questions on, we'll come back to 18, 19, and 20. Any questions on 21 through 23? Director Adcock?
Yes, do you have pictures on those, please?
Yes, for 21.
Yes, 21.
Can we pull up the pictures for 21? Wow. All right.
Mayor, in the past, we have had lots of properties in the land bank. Now we have the same properties month after month. We have been averaging, some months we get one property donated. We have, it seems like, quit filing liens against these properties. We tear them down, and then it just says a vacant lot. I would like to know what our plans are on filing liens and getting some of these properties into the land bank. When I talked to Mr. Carpenter, is that we do not have the funds to file the liens on these properties. I would like to see us set aside some funds to file liens and get this property so we can get it rehabbed. Because to tear down an old fallen down house and then you have an old vacant lot, we really haven't done anything for the neighborhood. And I would like to go back to seeing us have 100 properties in the land bank and people coming in each month and bidding on those properties and buying those properties from the land bank and then having houses built on them. So I would like to know what our plans are. It's great you're tearing down these houses and everyone need to be down, but to just have another vacant weed lot. We have some properties over in Ward 1 on Valentine and Vollmer, I think it is. Well, in a couple of block areas, we have more vacant weed lots than we do houses. And we need to get them into the land bank so that we can start getting people to redevelop on these empty lots. I think the last thing I saw, we have 244 vacant weed lots in this city, and we have 259 lots of houses still sitting on them. So I would like to see us asking Mr. Carpenter to take 20 or 30 a month for a couple months, and let's see what we can do on redevelopment in our wards.
Thank you, Director Adcock, for that advisement. We'll follow up with you.
Thank you.
All right. You didn't press? No, you took it off. Vice Mayor Wyatt.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like a report on item number 22 from Mr. Jordan.
Yes, ma'am. This is the applicant, Apex Professional Construction LLC, is appealing the Planning Commission's recommendation of denial of the rezoning from R2 to R4 for 45 lots located along Mountain Vista and Summit Drive, is located in Ward 7. Planning Commission voted 3 yes, 7 no, and 1 open position. Staff recommends denial.
Can you tell us why you recommended denial on this?
There were a number of reasons, one of them being that there was a water issue between the city of Shannon Hills and this group and CAW, and I don't know if that has been worked out yet. This also was highly contested by the neighbors. And I think one of the most glaring things about this is the lack of an emergency, a secondary access to this property. So if this were to be fully developed, they would be over that 30-lot threshold, which you have to have an emergency exit to.
Okay. And is your recommendation still denial?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'd like to hold this one separate. I expect a lot of neighborhood response from this. And I do expect the mayor from Shannon Hills to.
Yes, ma'am. It's a public hearing, so it'll be.
So it will be separate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Where's the mayor? Who is it?
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I had a little help from my small friend here.
Brad, let me ask you about item number 23.
Yes, sir.
I want to make sure I understand that. Can you go over it pretty quickly?
Sure. This is the applicant is Mr. Mike Orndorff. He's appealing the Planning Commission's recommendation of denial of his PDR that is located at 1522 Hanger Street. That's in Ward 1. The Planning Commission voted 0 yes, 10 no and 1 open position. Staff recommended denial of it. The reason and the main reason that we recommended denial of it, and the main reason that the Planning Commission voted against it, is because it showed no parking on the property itself. It just had on-street parking, and so that was a reason that we recommended denial.
Okay, so is it like 4 houses on one lot?
Yes, so it's going to be, this would be, yes, 4 lots, 1 story, single family.
I mean, but it's one lot now.
Yes,
That's
1 lot, it'll be divided into 4.
So these houses would be tall, skinny houses with, did I read that, about 600 square feet?
Yes, sir. No parking.
No parking.
No parking on the site, just on street.
And Planning Commission, no one voted for this, and the staff has also recommended.
That is true, yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Director Hancock?
No.
Okay. I see the mayor coming up. I do have a resolution that I want to introduce to you all that'll come up on June the 17th.
Cover what?
I was going to introduce my resolution if it's time.
You can go ahead.
Okay.
Director Wire, before we go to 18 through 21. You're on.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor and board members, we have been 19 months without a city manager. And we've had 3 different acting city managers. We've had Emily Cox, who we loved, Susan Altruy, who we loved, Chief Hubbard, who we love also. But the citizens have talked to me about, well, if we have a assistant city manager as the fire chief, who's taking care of the fire department? I mean, fire is important to our citizens, and I've explained to them that we have somebody that has stepped up behind the chief to take care of it. I have a resolution before you that talks about a process in order to come up with a selection for the board to approve a city manager. And I brought this up several months ago when we were in executive session and talking about the city manager position. And I said I felt like that we ought to have 3 members from the board that reviewed applications and came up with 3 recommendations. We were told we'd get 3 recommendations, but we only have 1. And so here we are 19 months without a city manager. We truly miss Bruce Moore every day. And so I feel like this resolution will help us move to that position where we have a city manager, a permanent city manager, where projects transfer, they're with the city manager as we go through from one city manager to another city manager. Some of the things that we have issues with don't get transferred very gracefully. You have to start all over with the process again. So I would like for this to appear on our June 17th agenda, and I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Seeing questions, members of the city, members of the city board, I'll just make a couple comments as I shared with you all in the executive session that you all will have a candidate by the month of June. So this makes this moot, number 1. Number 2, it's not a part of the state statute. And so you definitely can add to it through the process in which the city attorney has done. And we're always grateful for the city attorney. And if this was to pass, I would veto it. And I think it would not be overridden.
Mayor, it's just a process to
as I shared,
us.
I think it would be vetoed and not overridden.
Okay. And as I was trying to say.
But I was talking.
Did I interrupt you? I'm so sorry.
You did.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Right.
That's not like me.
Thank you so much. Director Adcock.
Yes, Mr. Carpenter, would you please tell us if this is legal, how we could do it?
Thought I still had the floor.
The statute sets forth that the mayor will make the appointment and that the appointment then has to be approved by the board of directors. It doesn't give any direction one way or the other as to whether a governing body can come up with a process to be used for the mayor's appointment. It's still the mayor's appointment.
Is there anything that says that it can just go on and on until we do all department heads?
There's nothing really in the statutes that say that. I think that the concern that the board needs to have is that a city of this size with finances of the size that we have, not having an actual city manager in place, bonded as required by statute, at some point is going to be detrimental to the city's financial condition. That doesn't mean you have to do it today, you have to do it tomorrow. It's just sometime that happens. But then I've got to add in this case, there have been interviews and there, I mean, it's not like it's been ignored. And as has been pointed out, we've had 3 capable people serving as assistant city managers. So I think it's a political question for you and not a legal question for me.
Thank you, City Attorney. Again, as we shared, it's a process. I know Director Miller shared over a period of time that first and foremost, we're very clear. Little Rock is we're one of 4 cities, I believe, in the state that even has a city manager process. And then ours is a little different as well. So it's not the norm not to be there. But long story short, we will have someone in June that you all will vote on from that process. We did take about a year as it relates to the available people that were available and gone through that process through a number of different interviews that you all have been a part of, and we're here today. So as I shared, this will be moot because you'll have the opportunity to hire someone in June. The statute doesn't allow for a process. It's up to the mayor on the process and the appointment, and up to you all to vote yes or no from that process, and we'll move forward. Again, like I shared at executive session 3 weeks ago, we'll have someone in June. I believe Joseph was here when I shared. I think that's why he's following up on some things today, because as we're getting close to June. So that's kind of where we are. But if it was to pass, it would be vetoed.
Mayor, do you have a plan if we vote no in June?
Yes.
What to do then?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we have that plan, or can you tell us
I'll
the plan?
make another appointment
Okay.
for you to vote yes or no.
My light is on. Am I still recognized or not?
I was talking, so then I answered the question from Director Adcock.
But you
Oh.
stopped.
I was talking, Director Wyrick. Now, if you want to say something, you got to just press the thing.
I'm on.
All right.
Yeah.
Director Adcock. I mean, Director Wyrick. The law states that the mayor makes the appointment and the board votes. Yet I can't make you vote yes or no, but if you vote no, I'm going to bring someone else before you to vote. And so hopefully you'll vote yes. I mean, ultimately, that'll be on you all. It's my job to make the appointment. It's your job to say yes or no. And so, but yes, I do have a plan if you all were to vote no. Director Wyatt.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, that is my concern. I don't know that there is enough support on the board for the candidate that you have selected. We were promised we'd have 3, and it would be somebody that we loved, and we have 1, and I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. And then I've heard comments that you've said, well, if I don't get this one, I'll get another one. So what I'm asking for is a participation from the board of directors in the process, because we work with the city manager, our citizens work with the city manager, and I know you do as well. And so I would like to go ahead with this ordinance, come up with a group from the board. I'm not saying it's me. I'm just saying that we have some very qualified people on the board that can look at what a city manager should be and how we'd like that city manager to work in our community, work with our 2,500 employees, and work with the board. So I would like to have this on the agenda for June 7th. I'd like to move forward.
you definitely by right will move forward to have it on the June 7th agenda for that next following week. So it definitely will be there. But as I shared, it will be moot, and if it was passed, it will be vetoed. And I'm following the state law, and I'm following our laws. All right. Now, I think we're on to MHA. Any questions on, we have Director Jarman and her CFO who are here with us today as it relates to items 18, 19. I know we spent, and as well as former Mayor Stodela, who's here today. Any questions? I know we spent about an hour and a half or so, maybe 2 hours last week, and this will be before, so we'll open the floor for any questions. And I will say, depending on how long we're here, I may have to step out to go to the Little Rock Open to kick things off there. So, Director Hines.
Thank you. I guess this would be for Dr. Jarman or her CFO. Just a request for one more item. Could you guys provide us a list of any outstanding mortgages and the amounts owed on them, on any MHA or CAHC properties and the maturity dates of those mortgages? Okay,
Yes.
that'd be great.
Yes.
I know we're only talking about Madison, but I want to get a complete picture of
Right.
what else is out there.
Right.
Make sure we don't have any of those other situations come down the park.
Yes, sir.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks.
Director Compuris.
Yes, sir, thank you. I know that Nick and you are tired of my questions, but I have a number of questions that have not been answered yet, so I'll wait on those being answered. Dr. Jarman, I asked for a list of properties, and you don't have Paris Towers or any of those things on here.
No, sir, we don't have any of the red properties. They're not ours anymore. So the list asks for properties that we managed or we owned. That was the request that was presented to me, so we did not include the towers or Sunset Terrace.
Then explain to me, since I'm fighting my way through this, who takes care of Paris Towers?
Gorman and Associates. They are the developer as well as the property manager, and it was part of the RAD deal. It's no longer managed or owned by MHA. It's Gorman and Associates.
Well, that's not what the website says.
Oh, okay.
It's there. The Paris Towers is listed under MHA,
And the website is incorrect.
but it's your website.
Yes, sir.
And then, could you tell us the questions I ask is the condition of these, who has loans on them? What's the condition of these? Are they up for sale? What's happening?
And when you say these, can you tell me, are you talking about the towers?
Legacy, Home in Granite Mountain, Madison Heights 3, Elm Street, NSP 2 program units 25.
Okay, the list that we provided. Your question is, are they for sale? What status are they in? Is that-
Right. I mean, these are all the things that you manage under your
Yes, sir.
program.
Those are the properties that we do manage.
So if we've now been apprised of the problems with MHA that has had with these two properties, can you give me the same sort of information on these?
Yes, sir.
5 properties?
Oh, yes, sir. None of our properties have anything even close to the issues that we're dealing with Madison 1 and 2. They don't have loans on them. They don't have liens that are going into foreclosure. We have a couple of properties that we really need to possibly get property insurance on, but other than that, they're pretty well managed, the ones that we kept under our portfolio, meaning MHA and CAHC.
Okay. And then, Tom, I asked you a number of questions about the state, the HUD.
I understand that Director Jarman sent a letter to the state to ask if they would be involved in trying to deal with this. I know that she has sent communications to HUD to the same effect because of the meeting that Mr. Sarpy and I had with HUD on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday of last week.
What happened in that meeting?
We talked with Brian Gage, who is, I don't know what his title is, but we talked with him in some detail about what the problem was with MHA as to Madison Heights 1 and 2, the status of the litigation, the concerns about the city being involved in this process. He was surprised that the city was looking at some way to assist Madison Heights essentially from general fund monies, because he said that virtually all other cities that run into an issue of this nature use CDBG funds. Nick pointed out that, Mr. Sarpy pointed out that we really don't get annually the number of CDBG funds that would actually take care of this. And so then we talked through different ways of being able to deal with it. The one thing that I thought was significant, he mentioned a thing called the Property Solution Plan, PSP. And in that, the way that works, as I understand it, is that the housing authority through Dr. Jarman would say, help, we need this help to see if we can stop the loss of these buildings and so forth. The HUD would then appoint people to this panel. It's not planned, it's Property Solution Panel. And they would appoint people to this panel who have had experience in this area that is evidently not totally unheard of throughout public housing. And in that discussion, they would try to see from the various documents and everything else that's there, what might be done to avoid the foreclosure situation. I think Mr. Sarpy has had some conversations with ITEX that they're interested in some assistance. One thing that was made clear to us is that it would really not be in the interest of the city nor MHA to get funds from the city for the repair of MH1 and MH2, since those repairs could be done with tax credits, or there would be tax credits for doing those repairs that the city doesn't need and that a developer could use. If we make them, they won't be available. He also pointed out that there are the dates that the trust funds, trust agreements for MH1 and MH2 end, which is 30 years. And I think those dates are 2029 and 2026. Is that right? I'm looking at Mark. I mean, there's two different ones, one for one and one for the other, and they're within that time frame. But in addition to that, there's a 10-year period that they have to be operated as housing authority type units by whoever should try to buy them if they are bought for 10 years, because the housing authority has received operational funds from HUD in this period of time. Or the debtor could pay the fair market value for the two properties, which according to the spot check we got last week from Dr. Jarman, it was 18.7 million if it's not repaired, and 20.4 or 5 million if they are repaired. I don't know what they would be willing to do. I know that MHA is not in a position to do any kind of challenge about if it's everybody at the table after August the 1st because of an agreement they made in court. I don't know that the lender wouldn't be in a position, if it thought that there was going to be some way to go forward, of agreeing to another extension. The process that I just described, the request is made by MHA. HUD says that they will get involved, and then we try to get people involved. Mr. Sarpy asked specifically about how quickly, and Mr. Gage said that they are sometimes fairly quick, but sometimes they take longer. And I think I wanted to interpret that, and I will leave to Mr. Sarpy his comments, because he really understands numbers and I don't. But I kind of understood that to mean at least getting people together to say, are we going to get serious about this and try to work something out, or are we not? I think that would be what we need to know first off. And then if we are, have everybody at the table that would be interested, the lender, if ITEX is interested, ITEX, and the city and MHA, and see, is there a path to go forward that everybody can agree upon?
Okay, and what about the state?
I haven't heard anything about the states being interested. I know Dr. Jarman sent that letter. I don't know that any formal application has been made to the state, but I would think that if this other way is done, at least we'd ask the state to sit at the table as well as HUD.
And through all this, have you ever figured out why the board, from what Mr. Sharpie sent us this afternoon, or sent me this afternoon, says, I think he said 2018, there's been no audit.
Right. The reason I understand there's been no audit, well, first off, Dr. Jarman is really not involved in that.
I know.
And the second thing is that we had at least a year or 2 years where everybody was sort of not demanding because of COVID. So you've got those two things there. We also had a real problem with keeping records. MHA had a real problems with its records, and it couldn't get sufficient information to its accounting firm that would justify an audit. And the way the audits work is if you don't have one for 2018, you can't get one for 2019 unless you have all 2018, and it just kept feeding on itself.
Okay. Then explain to this simplistic person right here how we're the ones debating this. We never saw an audit in the 25 years I've been on this board. I've never heard any of this, and all of a sudden, other than that we need housing, that this is our problem. And the federal government and the state are sitting back and watching us flounder around up here.
Director Capurus, I can't answer that question. I've read the entire housing code with housing authorities. I've told you about the Supreme Court opinion. It was brought up to you last week, but you appoint the board. The Arkansas Supreme Court has said in clear language, the mere fact that the initial board is appointed and there's some authority of this board over successor members does not make it any less a state agency. I don't think it can get clearer than that.
Well, then, if in fact what you told me in one of your initial things is that the MHA board and not Dr. Garman and the people that are there now have a fiduciary duty, then do they have liability insurance? Who are
I don't know what type of insurance MHA has. I have heard different stories about how this debt got incurred. One of them, and I'm not going to mention it because I really don't have any proof of this. It got incurred because, the way that I understand it was incurred suggests that there was either not insurance or insufficient insurance.
do we have any, since I don't think we have any responsibility for this, is there anybody that can go back to HUD or MHA and say, you had a fiduciary responsibility and we're going to press charges against you?
I think the reason that property solution panels exist is to make sure that properties dedicated to public housing are not lost without HUD having a chance to keep that from happening.
Then, if that's true, why aren't we pressing HUD on this?
It's not for this board to press. I tried to make clear that it's
I
for.
know, and so we spent an hour and a half last week, and we'll spend another hour today. And I've spent a lot of hours reading about this, and I'm frustrated that this is suddenly a problem that that the state created us, or created y'all. You get HUD money you get money from the federal government every year. You have, the audit comes to you, and then it's given back to the government. And now we're the ones trying to figure this out. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Zero, none.
Director Capiers, I totally understand where you're coming from. I think the best way, and it may not be the correct way, is irrespective of the funding mechanism, the federal government, these are city residents on public subsidy in these homes. And if they do not have a home, right now, there are a number of vacancies, not vacancies, a number of wait lists of public housing and Section 8 vouchers in the city, which would mean this 100 and close to 180 residents would be waiting without a home. And it contributes to potential underhousing, potential homelessness. And so that is the reason why we were asked by MHA to step in, because the downstream ripple effect is if this city board decides to do nothing, we have 180 people that will be put in a state of disarray. They may not be put out of their homes on day one. A number of things could be happening. They could be priced out of their homes on day one, which puts them on the street. They could be evicted out of their homes on day one, which puts them on the street. And they could be put on the street saying, hey, we're going to give you 3 to 6 months to find a plan, but our plan is to do X, Y, and Z with this property and maybe make it market rate. And so that's the only reason. We're here for 2 reasons. One, for the people of Little Rock who receive public subsidy. Number 2, we were asked by MHA to consider finding a potential solution. We as a city, the city board voted unanimously to work towards that. We told a judge we would take the 90 days to work towards, which we definitely adhere to that particular process at this point in time. And so we have to share with the judge, we're going to move forward or we're not. And that's the reason why. But I want to make sure you're very clear. You're right. We don't receive the audit. We've never seen the audit. We don't have any direct control over what's done there. But I do think because of this process, Director Jarman, you would be presenting if the city moves forward, you'll be presenting those audits to the city, correct?
Yes, of course.
You would be, anything that Director Campiris has been asking for, you would comply, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm here to answer any questions. We will supply you with anything.
Not just answer questions. That's not what Director
Yeah, the audits, we're moving forward. Actually, we made some progress. We will be getting the 2019 audit, we're hoping in the next month. And then there, as mentioned by Attorney Carpenter, there's a roll-up. You have to get 19, 20, 21 and roll up. And the promise from the company that we now have says that by December 25, we'll have all 5 years of audit.
That'll be too late. I mean, the cow's out of the barn.
Yes, sir.
But
I agree.
Mayor, I'm not arguing, but what you just said is my frustration. We don't own it. We didn't make it up. We've been asked by the group that pays them money every year to do it, to take on this responsibility. That's nuts. We're having the federal government, for what you said, Mr. Carpenter, tell me what happens if we don't vote for this next Tuesday. What are the legal situations? Can these people be evicted and all these things happen?
My first understanding is that if this is not somehow approved next week, there's not going to be time to do a short-term financing for any amount. The short-term financing instrument, I think Mr. Sarpy will tell you, is really not feasible. If nothing is done to keep the lender from moving forward on August 1st, then the lender will become a housing authority if it buys the property at a sale, and it will take care of it. It says, I don't know that they know about the additional 10 years because of the monies that HUD has gotten. Mr. Sarpy, I think, feels that they do, and I noticed that they're looking at Mark, so they may have information I don't have.
Explain the additional 10 years.
Because the acceptance of monies that helped with the operation of MHA, there will be an additional 10 years that the properties will be public housing authority properties at MH1 and MH2. And so that would be
at the set rate that HUD says.
Essentially, one of the things that Dr. Jarman said to us last week is that there is a process where MHA could charge 120% of what HUD says is the acceptable market rate rent for the market rate properties here, which would then also include additional HUD monies for the vouchered properties because they're rented at the same rate. It's just the person is not charged the same amount. And the resident is not charged the same amount if they have a voucher. Well, let me try it this way. If it's $600 a month and the resident only is required to pay $100 a month because of the voucher, HUD would pay the other $500. So if that amount were increased by HUD, then we would get additional monies that way. The leases that MHA has are for a year. I think that is the January to December year and not the federal fiscal year. So that means through December of 2025, nobody would have to move or anything regardless of what happens in court. After that, because of the 10-year requirement, I'm not sure that people wouldn't have a right to get an additional lease from somebody if they have been, paying their rent and so forth. That's the nice thing about this property solution panel, because they're going to know all of that stuff, and it's not going to be me saying to a New York lawyer, well, this is what's going to happen, or Mark saying, well, this is what's going to happen. This could be HUD saying, no, this is what's going to happen, and this is what you're going to take on, and how you do it, fine. Or you can pay us the $18 million right now and pay 18 to get 5 and see how you're doing with that. For some people, that's evidently not a problem. For me, I can't get my head around it. But that's what essentially what happened, is that people would be there until the end of the year, and then after that, HUD would be saying to whoever has title to those properties, this is what you're going to do until sometime in the 2030s.
So it couldn't be converted to a pure market rate property?
Not the way it's set up now, no.
Is there any way of altering that setup?
Not that I know of. But this is not my area of expertise.
So the only way, as he mentioned, would be if they paid HUD their HUD's interest. So HUD basically told us that if a developer, and they've never seen it happen before, wanted to pay them the fair market value, then HUD would release their lien. But HUD's never seen anybody want to do that, because you're talking $18, $20 million, and so you'd be spending $25 million for a property that's worth less than that in this case. So that was our big thing, that if they were to take it, one, HUD has to approve any purchase. So HUD has any right to approve any public housing. That's where this property solutions panel also comes in. And we were told it'd take about 4 to 6 months for them to approve any changes in owner. So because it's public housing, they have that authority over them. HUD also said, one of the questions that the boards had was, why isn't HUD a party to the lawsuit or the foreclosure? And they basically said at this point, their interests haven't been compromised because they're under the expectation that regardless of if title changes, HUD's interests for the public housing will remain in place. And that's why they haven't joined as a party.
So.
And they haven't been sued. I mean, HUD would have had to move to intervene because they haven't been sued, and that's one of the points that Mr. Stodel has made, but Mr. Stodel cannot raise that anymore because of an agreement he's made with the court.
But, and just to confirm what I think Mr. Carpenter said, for 10 years at least, if we don't vote to do this, this stays a HUD property at HUD rates.
So we were told that the property would remain a housing authority property. The market rate units are still market rate, so those can be market rate. The public housing units would still have to remain public housing because that is where HUD's interested in, and that's where the deed is tied to. And so they're saying because they've given the housing authority money for those properties, it's a rolling 10 years. So the last year they received money, so this year, it's 10 years into the future that they have to stay in that shape.
Unless they pay the full price.
Right, which no one's ever done before.
Right.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Director Capires. Director Adcock?
Yes, I would like to hear from Mayor Stoller, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Mark, I noticed that you was making faces.
There's been discussion about the workout plan or the idea of a workout plan. I want the board to know that Dr. Jarman and staff and the commission, the authority have been looking at those issues. They've been looking at the issue. Tom mentioned ITEX. We've talked with ITEX. That is a process that takes 18 to 24 months to get done. There is no way that the lender would wait on anything like that. We've had those discussions, and that simply is not going to be an option. I mean, it may be an option if we can get rid of the initial debt that is on there now. And I think Baker Curris has indicated to you that the idea of 7.4 suggests rehabilitation. And Tom just mentioned that if, in fact, we go through a process with tax credits, there's no need for that additional funding relative to renovation. That would all be folded into the financing process of tax credits. So, and that is something that we would actively be working on, and frankly, it may be a very viable option, but it doesn't get rid of this immediate lender. It just doesn't get rid of that immediate lender. And my understanding is that the pure public housing, the pure public housing units at MH1 and MH2 may have to be maintained, but all of the rest of them, the market rate plus the vouchers, Section 18 vouchers, do not have to stay that way. And so you do have the same consequence of what will happen after these properties go to a new owner.
And because I don't know about this area and heard about this PSP last week for the first time, through nobody's fault. I mean, we were asking questions and they were talking, and I think we talked for about an hour and a half on a phone to be able to try to get to this. Our understanding is that Section 8 in those two buildings can't be moved for the 10-year period. So they will be there. Our understanding is the rent, even the market rate rent in both buildings, could not be changed for that 10-year period.
I understand that you really just spoke with the HUD people last week, you and Nick, and so that interpretation is not exactly correct. The restriction only applies to the public housing units, not the Section 8, the project-based vouchers. The restriction only applies to the public housing, because what they're basing it on is that we do get funds through our capital fund and our operating fund, but it's only for the pure public housing units. So
And I'm not going to disagree with you, but I will say that I outlined to Mr. Gage before we got off the phone call exactly what I told the board,
Right.
how it would work. And his comment was, you've just described it perfectly.
Right. And
So,
no offense, but I actually have an issue with the people that you were talking to. You're talking to HUD, and the people that you were talking to were here for the 4 years that the problem. So if you know HUD like I know HUD, what they're going to try to do is distance themselves. And I understand the conversation, but that is just not true about how the public housing units and the subsidy that they receive puts restriction on only the public housing units. I wasn't in the conversation. I know I was invited, but I just, I kind of agree actually with Director Capiris in that the role of HUD now, I think it's very heavy-handed, as I've said before, to come after the fact with all of these workout plans. And so what we're trying to do is understand that anything that anybody says at this point won't take into effect in time for that August 1st
if I can maybe
deadline.
address that question with you particularly, we know that when this matter was going to a hearing, that there was a conversation with Mr. Sarpy where the payment, and I think it was 1.2 million then, but it's about 1.4, 1.5, which would be the penalties, interest, and fees to date on the loan, not the principal, but it would take care of the rest of that, would get them to agree to an extension. And that wasn't really very attractive because we didn't know how long an extension it would be, and we didn't know if anything would be changed. Y'all do what you want to do. I don't care. We're in a legal position where we're okay. But it really seems strange to me not to try to get HUD in on this panel and see what they can do to get everybody worked out.
Right.
Spoke with them, so this is a new avenue. Great, we can make an amendment to the ordinance on June 3rd. If not, we have a great ordinance that our city attorney has developed that buttons up things from the city of Little Rock standpoint, and we can move forward to help save Madison Heights 1 and 2. That's what we're talking about.
That's
We're
what
trying to save Madison Heights 1 and 2, and we just gotta make a vote, and the vote will stand, and then we can move
Yes,
forward.
I'll be happy to get with you and hopefully join another call. I think that everybody's aware that HUD at this point is in disarray. And the gentleman from Oklahoma, we have one in San Antonio. Again, I just think that for the best interest of what we're doing here, that I would like to engage in that conversation.
Yes, I think that's wonderful. I do need to say to the board, one of the things in the resolution was that all title would be with the city. That will be out, because otherwise we would be, somehow if we had all title to the two properties, we'd be running a housing authority with absolutely no staff. So that really isn't an option for us.
Mayor Scott, I'm available for any questions.
All right, I think we've heard all the questions. Dr. Jarman, if you all will just talk between now and June 3rd on that panel issue, and I'm sure Director Capiris, if you have any questions, you'll you good with your question? I wasn't being funny, I was being serious. If you have any questions that you'll direct those. Director Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a lot to absorb here, and we've been given a lot of information, some new information to take a look at. But obviously, I'm looking at the rippling effect of what's going to happen to those properties and where tenants may end up being. I don't disagree with anything Director Compuris has talked about as far as who has the responsibility and where it should go. But certainly to me, this sort of looks like, you know, the government coming to the rescue of this entity. We're the government here. I don't see it any differently than what the U.S. government did to bail out the airline industry, or what the U.S. government did to bail out the auto industry, and they were paid back in full. And so, yeah, we may not have that responsibility, but again, the rippling effect of this, I think, is going to probably cost us even more with regard to people being on the street. I'm certainly supportive of you know, trying to get this debt paid off. Now, how much it is, now the 7.5, and maybe we can reduce some of that, but I think we do have a responsibility here. And again, it's no different in my mind than, you know, the government coming to the rescue of these industries that we saw were very essential for, you know, for us to operate this country. So we're trying to operate as a city. I mean, we understand we have a lot of affordable housing needs and people that are on waiting lists to get into affordable housing. It would be a tremendous loss to the city if we didn't try to step up and do something. I'm very supportive of trying to help MHA and get this debt relief, get this workout done. May not have to be 7.5, but it needs to be something, and that's what I'm hoping we are going to have a chance to look at finally.
Thank you so much, Director Miller. I do hope so as well, and totally concur with you, and I hope members of the board will see that. And I think also, again, if it needs to be amended from 7.5 to 5.4, I think that option's on the table. Our CFO just said it's probably because of interest, it's now $6 million. So we do need to make a decision. So if this goes from 7.5 to $6 million, or if we just need to figure out just to pay the back debt of 1.4 million, whatever it is, we need to do something to save Madison Heights 1 and 2. It's up to the city board to decide what that is. We'll provide a proposal. That's our job from an executive administration standpoint. And again, my only goal is to save Madison Heights 1 and 2. But ultimately, that's up to the city board, the elected city board, to make that vote, and that'll come before us on June 3rd. And if there's, I do want to say this now, so time is of essence. So if what I'm hearing today, we need to transition from 7.5 to 5.4 to save Madison Heights 1 and 2, let's say that now, and we can get that arranged. If it needs to be, 7.5 to 6 million, as our CFO keeps reminding me, or if it needs to be from 6 million to 1.4, but I do want to share, if we do the 1.4, it doesn't, Dr. Jarman, I want to go ahead and put this publicly.
Okay.
If the city board decided to go from 7.5 to 6 million, we know that gets the private equity firm off MHA and Madison Heights 1 and 2's neck. But if it did the 1.4, which just gets you all today, you still don't have the funds you'll be back in the same position, right?
Oh, most definitely.
So we only have an option. The option is either the 7.5 million or the 6 million. Because if we did the 1.4, you still wouldn't be in the financial, because you're still in the workout position. So members of the city board, two things on the table. Should we, and we don't have to discuss this at this very moment. I'm sure I'll talk with you all individually. If it needs to go from 7.5 to 6 million, let's discuss that. And also in the meantime, she'll be talking with the city attorney on the panel.
And that was a good point about the excess over the debt in terms of future development and the impact it will have on the light tech applications, because you have to have repairs for your basis. And so that is a good question in terms of the 7.45 versus the 6.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.